Good evening, everyone. We just came from executive session. No votes were taken. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I make a motion that we open up the public hearing for the Comcast contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Nancy, do you want to go over it?
Sure. I have some notes here. Hold on a second. Well, this is our non-exclusive franchise agreement with Comcast, our cable company. I think we have two in the town right now. Each contract usually runs for 10 years with 5-year renewals. We are on a 5-year renewal right now. There's really nothing significantly changed in this contract agreement. It's for a term of 5 years, as I said, and we're required under the law to have a public hearing to just confirm that there's no complaint as to whether or not they are, upholding their duties as the cable provider to the town.
Any comments on the board?
I'm okay with it.
Any public comment? No?
Is everybody happy with Comcast? Kathy's not.
I know.
Well, I don't have Comcast.
Me
I
neither.
got rid of Comcast and got Verizon, and they're both terrible. But my son had Comcast, and just recently, he stopped using them. The customer service is horrible. He went to streaming. So I didn't understand it when I was on the town board, these public hearings, because they do nothing. These people do whatever they want. It's kind of like NICEC.
Personally, I've been happy with my Comcast.
All right. Should we adjourn the public hearing?
Just hold it over until the
Till-
next meeting so you can take more comments.
Okay. All right, we'll hold it over till the February 15th meeting.
And if you want to, you can offer to take comments, written comments,
Yep.
or at the next hearing.
Okay. All right. Lana, do you want to do roll call?
Do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
We're going to hold it over.
So
Make a
you're gonna-
motion to hold it
make
over
a
to
motion to
February
make it over.
15th.
Okay, and so you're going to make the motion. Who's going to second that?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, roll call. Supervisor McGlasson?
Present.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Present.
Councilman Tempori?
Very good. Present.
Councilman Rubin?
Here.
Councilwoman Kabati?
Here.
All present.
Present.
Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is the planning board. We have an appointment for an alternate member. The resume was in the backup, and anyone have any comments? Do you want to read it? You don't read it. Do you want to read it?
Sure.
You get to read it.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution appointing an alternative member to the planning board. Whereas there is a vacancy for the position of alternate member on the planning board, and the town board wishes to appoint Jackie Bishar as an alternate member to the planning board. Now therefore be it resolved that Jackie Bishar be appointed as an alternate member of the planning board.
You make that motion.
I make the motion, please.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item is the code changes for planning. Chris, do you want to?
We want to ask John and Bruce if they want to come up and describe what it is, and or any of the, there's a couple planning board members too. Whoever wants to give us a rundown, kind of brief us where we're at with it. And
Certainly. Good evening. All new faces since the last time I was here. Congratulations, I believe. I hope. For the record, my name is John Andrews. I'm with the firm of Rohde, Soika, and Andrews Consulting Engineers. I'm a New York State licensed professional engineer, and I have served as a consultant to the planning board and occasionally to the town board. With me tonight is Bruce Barber, who I'm sure you all know, who is the town's environmental consultant, and the young lady who just walked in is Liz Axelson, who is the town's planning consultant. We were tasked by the previous town board to amend your soil removal, soil mining code. We
John,
appeared...
can I just interrupt you one
Yeah,
second?
this is- we're not-
We're just going to hold off 1 second. We're on the wrong topic right now. This is a proposed amendment to the planning. We're going to do you in 1 second.
Yep.
Does anybody from the planning board want to come up and talk about this? No? So the planning board has sent over a recommendation for a code change to the town code that would help alleviate some of the time and money spent on some minor changes for commercial properties. It looks pretty straightforward. It would basically allow the applicant to work with the town planner, and then if she's okay, it would be approved by Bill Walters, our building inspector, and allow it to move forward. Kind of streamlines the whole process a little bit, takes a little bit of the paperwork out of it. From what I read, it seems like the right direction for us to be going with the planning board to make things a little easier for our residents, and I support it. Any other discussion from the board on it?
No, I fully support it as well.
I'm just curious if this was adopted from a model from another municipality, and if so, what their experience with this has been?
I can answer that question if you wish. It was borrowed from a couple places, but more specifically, it was taken from the town of Poughkeepsie. The town has used it. Most towns use it relatively infrequently because it's a very narrow range, but because you have a lot of developed properties, it sometimes fits here. And it allows simple things like a change in use. If you bring in a new use in an existing plaza and there's no other issues, rather than needing site plan approval, you can just go through this process. So I think what it is an attempt to identify minor projects and make sure that they get the scrutiny they deserve, but that they can move through faster without a cumbersome process and perhaps save people both time and money. So that was the goal of the planning board. And again, the town of Poughkeepsie, I've run across it and used it myself in the town a couple different times. And it's not one of those things that they do every day, but on simple things, it makes perfect sense. You don't overkill your residents or your future store or business owners.
Right.
Thank you.
Evening, I'm Bruce Barber. This is really a great idea to simplify some of the real small potato stuff that we see at the planning board. There's a couple of wordsmithing pieces of this, so I just want to bring to the attention of the board, and actually John just said it. Defining simple is, I think, a really important thing in terms of what is being looked at within the context. Then at the bottom of the first page, it talks about simple elements and what have you, and I think that becomes kind of very discretionary, sometimes very difficult to administer from the code enforcement perspective. So this is, I think, the body of this is great. I think the idea is going to work well. I think it just needs a couple of tweaks to create a little bit more clarity moving forward in terms of administration. So that's where we are.
Okay.
Hello, Supervisor, councilpersons. I'm Liz Axelson from CPL. I'm the consulting planner to the planning board and sometimes to the town board. And originally, I remember that, I believe it was planning board member Steve Wilhelm and other planning board members that had expressed a concern, and we brought this sample language to them that John has mentioned. He's familiar with too, and I've worked for the town of Poughkeepsie. So again, same as Bruce said, take a look, maybe do a few tweaks. The one thing I think is very important for this type of process, so the town doesn't become overburdened with money coming out of the town's pockets for these considerations. We should take a look at the fee structure and make sure that folks who are making an application for this provide fee, possibly a small escrow, to make sure that we have an opportunity to really look at what's proposed and to look at the site. And the reason I mention that is because we've had a few applications come up that seemed like they could have been a site plan waiver or seemed like they were ready to go. And an issue came up on a site that we just didn't know from looking at maps or looking at the plans or the other materials that were submitted to us. So looking ahead, let's make sure that our services are covered by minimal fees, just to get the process started.
So it sounds like we need to work on that a little bit more before we move forward with it, just a little bit. Okay, thank you.
We're good?
Yep.
All right, let's move on now to the mining moratorium.
Now you're up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun. Anyway, we were charged, the three of us, to take a look at your current laws and propose an amendment to your soil removal, soil mining provisions in your existing code. We appeared before the then town board last November to review what we had presented. What we put together was a conceptual code amendment identified as a soil removal, soil mining, and we appeared before the board to introduce that and address some of their questions. The way that particular conceptual law was drafted was as a result of a series of meetings that we had. There was a joint meeting with the planning board. There was a bunch, and we tried to distill down. And you always run the risk as a consultant putting words in the mouth of the town board that you work for. So we tried to avoid that, but we tried to pull together everything that we had found from the discussions and the notes that we got from people. And there was the whole goal of that conceptual ordinance that we presented at that time was to provide the town with more control of the soil removing operation. It would, by doing so, we proposed a special use permit to be issued by this board. The reason we chose a special use permit, it gives you the opportunity to add questions. This board is the duly elected board of the town and is theoretically has more power than the planning board. So it seemed to be best to vest that with you, because actually soil mining is a town impact generally. The other key element of it was phase development, which kind of balanced mining and development and backed up by a performance bond. So there's nothing worse than coming in and completely refacing a site, shall one say, and then not having a development at the end. So what we had tried to do is let this occur in phases. You can mine here, but you got to start development one before you move to mine. So we tried to cover all those things, and then the last thing was how that dovetails with the DEC permit requirement, because they have a specific task here. Now, at that time, we received some comments from the town, and we have recently received, Councilman Ruthven has been kind enough to forward to us a couple documents, one of which was kind of like a general thoughts document that kind of outlined, I think, the thinking of the group that kind of got together to put this together, as well as a red line version of our code. Now, we have some comments. We have, I think, a little bit of a different direction and proposal to offer to you tonight. But before we do that, I think it's important, before we had embarked on this whole thing, Liz had done an exercise for the town board to try to give you a sense of where soil mining fits in your existing framework. So we thought before we told you where we want to head next based on your comments, it might be good for Liz to kind of recap and give you a kind of a capsule snapshot of what your town code currently says. So I'll turn it over to Liz.
I'm going to just,
Thank you.
please take one and pass it along. Sure. Again, I'm Liz Axelson, and this memorandum I'm handing you is from January 21, 2020. Nancy remembers this, because there was a concern, and the first step that I did was to do a code analysis. I don't want to make you glaze over But it kind of came up when Bruce and John and I were discussing some of the draft materials that we're looking at more currently. And so, a couple of the points that I think are of interest. If you go right to page 2, code analysis, comments. And it just shows you that the term mining, it occurs in definition sections of the code. But that's about it. It's really not a word that shows up much at all. But it is defined, and it shows up in flood damage prevention, freshwater wetlands, steep slope protection, and stormwater management, and that's it. It's not in zoning. And it isn't even in the soil removal law. And eventually, I hope we get to the point where we figure out what to do with that law, because I think Bruce and John have a great idea of how to handle this issue. Anyway, there are other places where the term mine shows up in fire prevention, explosives, and blasting agents. But most of what you see in terms of language that pertains to this whole issue is excavate, excavation, and all those other terms. So I'm not going to read through this, but you can see that, and I remember when I started working here, that the town of Kent has a pretty hefty set of code chapters with some depth, with a lot of specifics and a lot of protections built in. And the reason I'm raising that is that when we're crafting, we're going to try not to duplicate things. If it's stated someplace and there's a basis for it, leave it there. That is the best way to handle things. Because once you start duplicating, you end up with conflicts, and that puts all the different permits at odds with each other. So that's really the main point. You can take a look at this at some point and see that we really took a hefty look at what is there already and where we went after that. I'm going to let John and Bruce talk about that. Thanks.
As I said, we did receive some pretty hefty comments from the councilmen. And one of the things that jumped right out at us, and as I started this, I told you it's always not a good thing to put words in the mouth of the board that you work for. It came through very clearly that it appears to be the intent of the town to prohibit mining altogether, is not to let it occur in the town. You have that right, even with the various DEC rules and regulations. You can build that into your code and not allow mining any place in the town. So,
I have a question.
mhm.
If you completely get rid of mining completely, then would somebody would not be able to build a driveway in there?
No,
Okay.
there's some fine, see, what ends up happening, and I think that's the important thing that Liz kind of raised, mining has a defined intent. Mining covers an amount of material, a given time, other changes.
Okay.
And mining, for the most part, large-scale mining, large-scale removals, are pretty much the purview of DEC. And I think some of the experiences the town has had heretofore, the town didn't get the control they wanted because DEC stepped in and said, hey, we'll do it according to our mine laws and you're out. So the big takeaway that we had from the comments that we received is, let's prohibit mining. Now, having said that, we took, and your folks took a crack at kind of redlining the law and what to do. And one of the things that jumped out at us is once you prohibit mining, some of this other stuff, your code already does a really good job of monitoring. One of the best frameworks you already have, and you've probably all heard about it more than you care to, which is Chapter 66, Steep Slope Protection and Stormwater Management, and a lesser degree, Chapter 39A, which is Freshwater Wetlands. They have to go through a full permit process with the planning board if they disturb anything greater than 5,000 square feet. You've heard language, it's a cumbersome process, it takes time, so on and so forth. But to your point, those matters about building a driveway, preparing a site, they're already somewhat covered there. So
And they're under the threshold of requiring the DEC to issue a permit.
that's correct. Everything in those chapters are under either your control or the town planning board control. So in looking at this, and Bruce and Liz and myself, we saw this as an opportunity that rather than pursue the avenue that we were pursuing, which is a mining code, if you will, it might present you with a better opportunity to update and streamline Chapter 66. That would allow us to correct some of the inefficiencies, perhaps shorten some of the process for minor residential projects, and add the opportunity to one of those big projects, and they come here to the town, to perhaps give that the additional scrutiny it needs, and maybe even move it to a special permit process at the town board, because when you start to look at some of these large-scale developments, there's trucking impacts, there's noise impacts, there's neighbor impacts, that sometimes may be best handled by you folks as the elected officials. So what we would propose is to take a look and combine what you've charged us to do, which is rework mining, but put it in the framework of Chapter 66. And what that would mean is we would create a tiered process. Just as we were talking about the de minimis projects here, there are certain projects that come before the planning board. A simple pool in someone's backyard, for instance, runs afoul of that code sometimes, and it can be a cumbersome process. So what we would propose is probably a three-tier system, if you will. Setting up the first tier of small, minor projects that could be handled by your building inspector in consultation with us, not need to go to the planning board, and perhaps shorten a process which depends on who you talk to, sometimes can take 6 months to a year to maybe 90 days. Okay?
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be.
The second tier would be those projects that the planning board currently spends a lot of time on. And as Liz indicated, that's single-family homes. Some of them are relatively large. Some of them are on complicated lots with other impacts. And they need the scrutiny. Would help out. And then there's those big projects. The ones that involve large pieces of land, large disturbance. And what we thought is that would be the top tier. That would be the complicated tier. And if we did it right, it may send those projects back to this board for a special permit and then need to get all the environmental permits from the planning board. Gives that extra level of scrutiny that we were trying to get, but remember now, we've taken out soil mining. You're not mining anymore, folks. So one of the things we started playing with some of the thresholds that might be appropriate. And you start to look at, and we did look at other communities, probably 5 to 7, I think, of how they handle these things. And they all seem to have a uniformity of approach, which is the aerial extent. How much of a site is to be disturbed? You can pick an acreage, but remember we have DEP, we have 5,000, we have a bunch, but it seems like we're looking somewhere around the 2 to 2.5 acres. So if they're going to disturb 2 to 2.5 acres, it might need to come to you folks. A change in topography, a cut or a fill. Every site in the town gets cut or filled, okay? What happens is, and other towns regulate it, it's usually cut or fill greater than 2 feet. Now, 2 feet isn't much. Maybe we bump it up to 3 feet. Maybe we make it 4 feet. But if you think of 2 acres, taking 2 foot off of 2 acres, that's a project, folks. Yeah. And then the last issue is, and it's always an issue, and it's one of the triggers that DEC uses, which is how much material is either imported or exported. Because if you're going to take material off, you got trucks. If you're going to bring material in, you got trucks. You've got all the stuff associated with that. So we were looking at a threshold that would be under DEC mining, but would be impactful. So we were talking perhaps 500 yards. So I think what the opportunity here is, rather than kind of go down a road that maybe doesn't give you the best bang for your buck, that if we were to perhaps take this approach and rework what you already got, because you folks spent a lot of time getting it there and just improving it to address the issues you want. We think it might be a little better project and more efficient for your needs. Having said all that, and this is a continuation of the discussion that we had last time, it is our estimate that you should probably consider extending your moratorium for an additional 6-month period to allow us to do that. We think we're actually pretty close, because a lot of it is already there, and the planning board members have over time expressed their issues, so I think we've got a pretty good handle, but I will turn it over to Bruce. That's what we think we need to head next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think the idea is simplification. We, rather than adding an ordinance, which then might, in an administrative capacity, be very difficult to administer, we're going to take a look at existing ordinance and insert the components that the CAC and what we've been talking with you folks in the planning board about, because basically what we've discovered is that the existing components of the town are overly burdensome on the small projects and not stringent enough on the large ones. And so how do we create a situation, and as John indicated, coming up with a tier system to make it reasonable and fair, so that we have a balance between people that are working on their properties and protection of natural resources and following existing ordinances. So that's the idea behind it. And the CAC, I want to compliment them. They did a great job in taking a look at excavation and thresholds. And I think one of the interesting things that they came up with was a threshold of just less than what a DEC mining threshold of 750 cubic yards would be. And if that stayed on the site, basically that would be considered acceptable. But I want to, John came up with the idea, I think we also need to look at topographic cuts. Okay, how much is actually being cut from the surface of the soil, specifically over in the IOC zone, as we all know. Because I think that's also a measure of impact, because basically you could do a almost balanced cut and fill operation, take one side of the mountain and cut it and bring it on the other side here, and have massive impacts. Right. The other part of it too that has to be really strongly emphasized is that the what if part. So what if they finish the excavation out there? The impetus is to develop some type of commercial rateable for the town. That's why it's zoned accordingly, and it's in the comprehensive plan as well. So all these things kind of put in the blender, it seems that by simplifying everything, putting it into Chapter 66, and working that through is something that might be the most efficient and most simple way of doing it. So we just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that and see what you might think about moving forward and getting this towards the finish line. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to comment? Liz, you want to say anything? So there's a couple things that I think you definitely got from our intention, and one of them was to stay underneath the DEC threshold. We kind of felt that was important. We don't want them to take control from the town, point blank. We don't want them to take control from the town. I love the idea of simplification. I think it's important that we always work toward that for our residents, but we do have to keep the scrutiny on the bigger projects. That's also important. You talk about the cut and fill. I know one thing that CAC and Ann can relate to this, the cut and fill. We've been over and over again about our ridgeline protections, and this may be a place also to work that in at the same time, because it sounds like it's kind of almost the same thing. So ridgeline protection has been a big discussion at the CAC. I got to give Councilwoman Campbell a lot of credit. She spent a lot of time and work on the notes that you sent. They came from me, but they're, you know, one of the meetings I couldn't make to. I know her and some of the other members of the CAC really spent a lot of time crossing out a lot of your stuff and redlining it. But you saw the intention. The word mining came out of every sentence in your document. We did not want it in there because one of the first sentences is mining is not allowed in the town of Kent.
We got that.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of process. Well, we did appreciate it. That's why we gave you that conceptual code. That's, again, it's important that this embodies what you folks want.
Right. We appreciate that. Sure, absolutely.
I think the people at home may not be able to hear if you don't use the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I just want to ask you, we were talking about the NRI grant. Do you happen to know if scenic ridgelines will be identified as part of that grant, which would be very helpful to reference that map within any ordinance moving forward regarding this particular chapter, Chapter 66? Any thoughts on that?
That's a conversation that we could have with the contractor, which is Hudsonia.
Okay,
I think there
great.
would certainly be interest in that. That may be something they do routinely. I'm not experienced enough with NRIs to know.
Yeah,
But I
that
will
could be
find
part of
out.
your layers of all the NRI, and a whole bunch of different layers could be incorporated in that study. And that'd be really a vital thing in terms of steep slopes and scenic vistas for a lot of reasons, including this. So it'd be great if you can do it.
And if I might make one more comment, I'm really excited to see us moving in this direction. In the review, you had noted that we had Chapter 63, which is the soil removal code in the existing code, and that it didn't specify a threshold, so it sort of never was activated as far as I could tell. I'm wondering if that might be the place to work with your third tier. I like this tier concept, sort of fusing what you have in your draft document with that chapter. That might be where the developer has to come to the town to get the excavation permit, even if it's a massive cut and fill as opposed to removal.
One of the problems, we toyed with that, and to be honest with you, Chapter 63, a lot of communities had identified a similar chapter a number of years ago, and they basically stopped following them because with the onset of new regulations, for instance, the stormwater management permits and disturbance, a lot of the stuff covered under 66 was actually a better job of coverage was done in some of the other newer code sections. So that's why 63 became an orphan. And to be quite honest with you, I think the consensus of the three of us is we would like to see Chapter 63 disappear in its entirety, that being part of this process, and actually utilize the stronger backbone of your stormwater management, because then you get DEP, you get the state speedies permit oversight. There's a bunch of other things that come in that make it a little more impactful overall and gives you a little better leg of control than ever existed under 63.
Thank you for explaining that. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Any public comment on mining? We have to set a public hearing for the extension of the moratorium?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Should we do it now, so set it?
Yeah, and
What
I
are the-
think it expires in the beginning of March, so.
March 2nd or 3rd, somewhere right in there.
So this would be a good time to.
It's the 3rd. Okay. You wanna-
I'd like to make a motion to add an item to the agenda.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the extension of the mining moratorium for, what, we have to,
February 15th.
February 15th, Lana, does that give you enough time?
I believe so.
for February 15th, 2022. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, the next item on here, I know Kathy will be happy, is the liaison list for 2022. I'll go over it quickly, so.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice night. So I will go through it, Kathy, just for you. So I will be the liaison for Water District 1 and 2. I will be the Lake Carmel Park District co-chair, Kent Seniors, and Sanitation. Councilman Ruthven will be the Lake Carmel Park District co-chair, Kent Seniors Planning Board, and the Conservation Advisory Committee co-chair. Councilman Tempori will be the Zoning Board of Appeals, Beautification, Historical Society, and Lakes Association. Councilwoman Campbell will be the Kent Public Library, Recycling, and the Conservation Advisory Committee co-chair. And Councilwoman Body will be the Sewer District, Lake Tibet, and Sanitation. So, I think we have a resolution. I don't know if we needed one, but, do you want,
We do.
does someone want to do the
Yeah, I'll
resolution?
do
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt the
Wait,
resolution.
hold on, Kathy, are you good?
No, sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you, Kath, sorry. I make a motion to adopt a resolution appointing liaisons to boards, departments, and committees. Whereas the Town of Kent Town Board members act as liaison to the various Town of Kent boards, departments, and committees, and whereas the Town Board wishes to appoint the Town Board members as liaisons to the boards, departments, and committees, as further described on the liaison list annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby appoints the Town Board members as liaisons to the boards, departments, and committees as further described on the liaison list annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference. I make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the Kent Library. They have some appointments and some reappointments. I think I'm going to do it just because it's a little confusing.
Okay.
So I make a motion to reappoint Marty Collins as president, Otto Romano as treasurer, Katie D'Angio as recording secretary, Tom Maxon as corresponding secretary. Yeah, I know. And then I make a motion to appoint Ava Rogers as vice president, all with 5-year terms. And then I also make a motion to appoint John Herron as the board of, to the library, I'm sorry, just to appoint him to the library board. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're all good? Okay.
Otto, you don't want to come up and speak?
Yeah,
Otto, you don't want to come up and speak?
Oh, boy.
You want to say something? Were you all nervous? You looked nervous. Hello.
I'm sorry that John couldn't be here, but John,
Oh, he's back there.
It's right there.
oh, you're here. I didn't see you, I'm sorry. John has been an avid user of the library for many years. John's a graphic artist. He'll be an asset to our board. So thank you for reporting him.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you for everything you guys do.
Congratulations on all the new members of the board. And
You guys do a great job. We
Yes.
appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Yes, thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the Gen Serve contract, the agreement. We are doing let me just see what we have here.
Is this for all our generators at all our facilities?
Yes, and it is also, yes, it is the generators at Town Hall, the Police Department, the Highway Department, and the Water. That's, Water Districts 1 and 2 are all of our generators, so. They are not the sewer district? Not the sewer district, no. Yes, that is not part of Gen Serve, yes. So this is just Town Hall, Police, Highway Department, and Water District 1 and Water District 2.
Okay.
So, any comment? No? Someone read it?
I'll do it.
Any- Oh, I think Kathy has. Come on up.
Their generator?
I don't believe so.
I don't know if it was on there last time or not, but I thought,
They do have a big generator sitting next
yeah,
to
and
it.
I thought we serviced that through
Yeah.
the
I'll have to
Gen
look into
Serve.
that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last time I talked to them down there, they said it wasn't running very good, so maybe nobody's
Maybe
been
because nobody's
servicing
been
it.
servicing it. Okay, just a
Give 'em a
thought.
call and find
Just a
out.
thought. And when is the sewer one up? Are we having that someplace?
Hey, I was gonna ask you, that was my question. Why isn't the sewer district on this list? Is it a different
It's
company?
a different company, it's not Gen Serve.
All right.
Okay,
That's probably
I just
why,
want to
yeah.
make sure that we're keeping up with it,
It's not that,
because I'll have to bother Noel.
Noelle, she's all yours now. I don't know.
who's reading this?
And it's.
Ann?
Yeah.
Ann's reading it.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing a contract with Gen Serve Incorporated. Whereas the town of Kent desires to enter into a service maintenance agreement for the generators at the town hall, police department, highway department, and water department. And whereas Gen Serve Incorporated has previously provided the town with maintenance of the generators and has provided a proposal for such services at an annual cost of $7,520, a copy of which is attached hereto and hereby made a part hereof. And whereas the town board believes it to be in the best interests of the town to accept the Gen Serve Incorporated proposal and authorize the payment of the requested yearly cost. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby accepts the proposal of GenServe Incorporated for an annual cost of $7,520, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are going to table F, the line adjustment. So now we are on to the sidewalk easement agreement, I'm sorry. And I'm going to give this to Nancy.
Sure. In connection with an approval from the planning board, Richard Reebrock, which I believe is the owner, it's for Kent Self-Storage on Route 311, has agreed to give the town an easement to install and maintain a sidewalk along 311.
For future construction, if it ever becomes needed.
That's right, if we ever do it.
Right.
So we reviewed the proposed easement agreement, which was prepared by the applicant's attorney, and we find it to be in order with the exception of paragraph 6 regarding indemnifications, which we recommend should be mutual. So we'll relay that to Mr. Freebrock's attorney and have them revise this, and then it's our recommendation that you authorize the supervisor to sign the easement, which will be recorded in the county clerk's office.
So I have a few questions about this. This was one of the projects, and maybe the planning board can back me up on this, that when he came in front of the planning board for development, they were asking for sidewalk, for room for the sidewalk to be placed in front of the proposed Kent storage there. Does this take out the obligation for him to do it if he gives us the easement to do it?
I don't know the answer to that.
That was part of the project that, Simon, do you remember that one?
Just for the record, Simon Carey, Plan Board member. Yeah, when they come in front of us, Liz actually brought it up that it is on them to have a sidewalk. And we were saying that he needs to put a sidewalk, and he says there's nobody else has it there. And what came about that was, I actually wasn't at the next meeting, and they agreed upon an easement. So I was reading the easement that we're talking about now, and it tells us that it's on the town to pay for putting, as far as I read it,
Yes.
to put the
That's what I
sidewalk on,
don't
but
like
I thought
Yeah.
in the existing code it was for them to pay to put it on. But that was my,
Well, then, we have some further research to do. This is what the planning board attorney passed over to us.
no,
So
I
if
understand,
this
I know
isn't-
that
if this
was agreed
doesn't-
upon, but, yeah, but I was reading it and it says, they're saying it's for the town to pay to put on and maintain it. I don't know who is actually supposed to maintain it, but I was under the impression that initially they were supposed to pay for it. They didn't want to do it because there's no other sidewalks there.
Right.
My point at the time was, we need to get started somewhere. This town doesn't have sidewalks, we need to start putting it in, and we're hoping that Bob's Garage and all like that, and that would all come together. And
No, this just
they-
allows the town to construct and maintain it. It
Correct.
doesn't obligate the applicant to do it at all.
No, that is correct,
So
but
if
we
that's
do,
not what we want, then we don't.
and it goes, yeah, but just, maybe I misunderstood what Liz was.
Can we hold off till another meeting then, to look into it a little more?
I think we need to go back and find out what her intention was, because anytime a sidewalk is in front of a piece of property, even if the town put it in, it's up to the property owner to maintain it. We don't want the town to be stuck for
According to what I'm
eternity.
reading there, it's for the town to maintain
We'll be
it
out there
and
shoveling
also
his
for the town.
sidewalk.
Yeah, that's,
And well, yeah, we should maybe look a little bit more into it
Okay.
because,
Well,
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I remember something, I'm not that much of a senior anymore.
we are getting old. Okay, all right. So the next item on the agenda is from the Lake Tibet Park Association. I unfortunately received this late, so the bill is in the backup documents, but nothing else. So they need to treat the lake with herbicide, and they did go out to solicit bids from 3 firms. Only 1 firm responded, but they do come highly recommended, and this is who they would like to use, so we just need to approve for them to go out to hire this company.
All right.
Do you have it?
Do we have a resolution for this, or?
We have a resolution with blanks in it because we didn't have the backup
I know,
yet.
she sent it to me late today, so.
That's okay.
The backup is behind the resolution with the
Okay.
prices.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
It's the pond and lake estimate.
You have it? You
Yeah,
want
I'll
to
read
read
it.
it? Okay.
Okay.
I said, I'd like to make a motion that the town of Kent has determined that there is a need for algae treatment of Lake Tibet, and whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy, that the town made request for the proposal for the companies which provide specialized, proposal for companies which provide the specialized services and received written proposals in response to such request, copies of which annexed herethrough and incorporated herein by reference.
So whereas
Is
this
the
company,
Pond and Lake connection, that was a written proposal, right? Whereas Pond and Lake has submitted the lowest proposal in the amount of $8,300.
is that correct? Are we looking at the right ones?
I
'Cause
think
it's all
so.
kind of mixed up. Was it Pond and Lake?
Pond and Lake.
We only got one, so this
This
is
is a
yeah, go
Pond and
ahead.
Lake, okay. Whereas Pond and Lake has submitted the lowest proposal in the amount of $8,300, whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the proposal submitted by the Pond and Lake. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of Kent hereby approves the algetic treatment for Lake Tibet for the price set forth for the proposal annexed herethrough in the amount of $8,300. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney. I'd like to make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is from our receiver of taxes, Stephanie Nix. She would like us to hire a deputy tax receiver, Martha Denney, at a rate of $17 an hour. Any comments from the board? No? All right.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming the appointment of deputy tax receiver. Whereas the Town of Kent Receiver of Taxes is authorized to appoint a deputy tax receiver pursuant to town law, and whereas the Receiver of Taxes has appointed Martha Denney as deputy tax receiver, and whereas the Town of Kent wishes to confirm the appointment of Martha Denney as deputy tax receiver at a rate of $17 per hour, subject to the receipt and review of an acceptable background check. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby confirms the appointment of Martha Denney as deputy tax receiver at a rate of $17 per hour, subject to receipt of an acceptable background check. I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I make a motion to add an item to the agenda for a title search.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need to do a title search for Eustis Park for a
Yes.
grant that we have already received. This is just in order to get the money, so is there anything?
No, that's
No?
it.
Okay. All right. We don't have a resolution, does anyone?
No, just, somebody should just make a motion to authorize the town attorney to, procure that title report for Eustis Park.
I make a motion to authorize the town attorney to procure the,
A
Just
title
thinking.
report for Eustis Park.
what she says. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I make a motion, to add, in a salary adjustments to the meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. I make a motion to adjust the following employees' salaries. Susan Filardi to $18, Heidi Link to $18, Vera Patterson to $18, and Andrea Townsend to $18. I make can I add everyone to the same one, even if it's
Sure.
different? And Giovanni Medina to $16, and Kimberly Harney to $16. I make that motion.
Discussion.
Okay.
I think it's really important that we identify some of our employees that have been here for a while. And certainly, when we start to look at what people are getting paid, and I keep bringing McDonald's up as the example, my daughter, who's 16, can go down and probably get a job at McDonald's making more than some of our employees have been paid here for the last couple of years. I think it's really important to recognize the hard work and the dedication they have to the town of Kent, and I fully support this resolution.
I agree. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I make a motion to add an item for recreation to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a resolution to change, or to change the title of Nikki Santos to Recreation Leader in the Recreation Department for the town of Kent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to add another item to the agenda for the Lake Carmel Park District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have an employee that is out. We're not sure when he's coming back, and we need to have a sub in there, and we need to authorize his pay per hour. So, whereas an employee of the Lake Carmel Park District will be out for an extended period of time, and the town board would like to temporarily fill this position. And whereas Cody Hickok has applied to fill this temporary position at the current rate of pay, which is $20 per hour. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that Cody Hickok is temporarily hired to fill the vacancy in the Lake Carmel Park District at a rate of $20 per hour, and be it further resolved that Cody Hickok shall fill this position temporarily until the return of the employee or at the pleasure of the board. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Kathy?
I know you use the word temporarily, but if it's over 6 months, does he become union?
So Kathy, that temporary might not be the best word. They're using them currently as a call-in position. It's on call. He
It's
doesn't
on
work
5
40
days a
hours a
week.
week. It's not 5
okay,
days
so
a
it's
week.
not
if they
where
need
it's
some
6
help,
One
they
week
call
it's,
'em
one
in.
week it was like one day, another week it was 2 days. It's not
It's
5.
very similar to the call,
Sub list.
the sub list from sanitation. In fact,
Okay,
that's the
that's what
list.
I was,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, when you said temporary, got it.
Yeah. I have nothing else to add to the agenda.
Did we pass it? Did we make a motion to accept that?
I think, do
Yeah, I think we
yeah,
did.
voted.
Okay.
Jamie and Chris.
Yep,
Okay, thank
okay, we're good.
For the temporary Cody, right?
Gotcha.
Temporary code. Is that his name now? Okay, vouchers.
I'll read them.
No, Chris has to read them.
Oh,
That's
he
his
has to.
job as the
Oh,
deputy
Yeah, that's my
supervisor.
job, but I don't have
All
one.
right, here you go.
No,
It's in there.
It's not. I got
can't find
I
it.
got Comcast on top.
I gave him.
he's getting old. He can't find it.
I would like to ask the board to approve the following vouchers from February 1st, 2022. Autocraft Body and Collision, that are over the threshold. I'm supposed to add that in. Autocraft Body and Collision, $8,820 for Parks Truck Number 36 insurance claim. Edmunds Government Tech, $4,696.80 for property system annual maintenance. Gabriella Truck Sales, $4,756.20 for truck parts. Harlem Valley Sand and Gravel, $13,111.83 for road sand. LEDRS Corporation, $4,500 for Teamster arbitration. Morton Salt, $19,972 for salt. New York State Department of Civil Service, $225,742.91 for health insurance in January. PERMA, $202,256 for annual contribution for the New York State assessment. Precast concrete sales, $13,283 for groundwater treatment system. Town of Kent PBA, $17,760 for the 2020 welfare fund. The following vouchers are from 2021. Extreme Signs and Apparel, $2,151.25 for soccer uniforms. Global Montello Group, $4,958.78, $5,052.18, $5,569.60 for fuel. Morton Salt, $20,057.43 for salt. Romer Wallens Gold in Minnows, I don't know, $3,197 for arbitration. State Comptroller, $39,306 for Justice Court fines and fees. Town of Kent municipal repairs, $19,043, $34,580, $18,011.74. All of these are chargebacks from highway from December, November, and October. Tranaxle, $6,700.48 for truck parts. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, announcements. So I actually forgot at the last meeting, but in January, there was 2 very, very cold Saturdays that myself and Councilman Ruth went on Saturday, and myself and Councilman Tempori and Councilwoman Body handed out test kits. It was very, very cold to residents, but we want to thank the Kent Police that were out there with us all morning. It was freezing, freezing cold. They checked IDs, they didn't complain, they were happy to be there, I think, or they pretended very well to be out there with us, but thank you, and I'm sorry I forgot to thank you earlier, Kevin, you know we appreciate you.
They went inside a lot more than we did.
Crawford might fight you on that one, he
Yeah,
was
that's
out there.
true, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think it would be a good idea while we're here tonight, because some questions have been coming up, to discuss all the grants that we received last year and kind of give a little brief up-to-date where we are. I mean, Councilwoman Campbell, you just want to go through a couple of the big ones and let people know that we are on them and we're working on them? Because there's been a few
Unfortunately, I
questions of us maybe slipping on a few, and I think it'd be good to let the public know that that is not the case.
I did not bring the list with me, so maybe you can help me out. But obviously, the largest one is the park grant, which is in excess of $500,000 plus the match, so it comes up to about $1 million. That's in process. You heard tonight that we're working on getting the various documents in to the state so that that funding can be received and the project can be planned. There was also a huge grant for the Lake Louise. How much was that one, Chris?
Just under $1 million.
Yeah, to replace the bridge, right? Then there's a high hazard dam grant for $100,000 for the Lake Carmel grant. That's in process right now. We're working on getting an updated work plan that has to go back into the grant system. We have the Natural Resources Inventory Grant, which is about just under $50,000. That's also starting. That's the one that has the 2 biologists who are working through the Conservation Advisory Committee as the match. And then we'll have this Natural Resources Inventory document that will be useful in planning, as you heard tonight. Then there are 2 stream bank stabilization grants. I think one is $30,000, the other one's a bit less. And that's for which lakes?
Lake Carmel and Seven Hills Lake.
Thank you. Yes. So that, we're just getting started on that one. Again, I haven't identified all the paperwork that has to go in. And I guess that's all the ones I know about right now. I know there were others that were obtained for the police department and so forth. As far as I know, those were all fulfilled. We still have the town's grant writing firm, and we're going to be meeting monthly. Supervisor McGlasson and I will be meeting with David Jenkins of Millennium to get updates on new opportunities for the town, and we will also continue to monitor progress on administration of the grants that we have. We've discovered that grants administration takes work, and it's a good problem to have. We were very successful with funding last year, and we plan to ensure that all of those projects are done and built, and that new opportunities, as they come available, will be sought out. Thank you. Anything to add, Chris?
No, that was good. I just want to also, kind of in the same boat, say that Supervisor McGlasson and I have been meeting with our team of employees on pretty much a weekly basis right now with FEMA on the Lake Carmel from the hurricane damage that was sustained. We're moving along. We're right on schedule with all our submissions so far, and we should be able to start really plugging away at getting some.
But if it's county-owned, why was the grant coming to us?
Okay, that's a fair question.
Yep.
Lake Louise Road Bridge, if you look at the property line, is town-owned. That's the town road. The lake body itself and the middle dam and half of the third dam up are county-owned, but not the road frontage or the dam. The property line is right to the edge of the lake, not the bridge or the road.
So what are we fixing?
The bridge is in really bad shape, which is the dam. The dam and the
Okay,
bridge are all
so,
in one
but
piece.
we're fixing a dam in a private community.
How is a private
Well,
community
because
with,
the town only owns 2 dams. They own Lake Carmel and Lake Tibet.
but they own the road. It's a town road.
I don't think they own the dam. I'm just
The
saying.
road is
but,
on top of the dam.
You told me once that the county owned the dams,
The
so.
county owns the lakes, but not the road itself. You look at the property line, it's been vetted out, and they've been with the county to discuss it. The property line comes right up to the edge of the road, and then the road is on top of the dam and the spillway. That's what's being replaced, is the bridge and the spillway through there.
Oh, not the whole dam?
No, the whole
Just-
dam's earth.
Okay. it's an
That's not
earthen
being
dam.
replaced, that's
Okay,
fine.
it's just the top.
The road and the bridge, the culverts, it's really a box culvert.
Okay, so, and I know, I mean, the 100,000 for the Lake Carmel Dam you were just talking about.
Yes.
That was months ago. Have they gotten any progress to come up with a plan? So that you could go further for another grant?
Yes.
They've made progress?
We have a meeting scheduled for Thursday to finalize the submissions for the grant with the engineering company, and part of what he has to submit is the scope of work, the budget, and everything of what he will give us at the end of the $100,000, which hopefully will be what we need to further go on and look for infrastructure grants for the actual work to be repaired on it.
Right. And would the county be going to look for fixing the bridge on top of the dam? Because the grants, I guess there's another round of bridge grants coming in, I think it was May.
No.
Do you think they would, since they own it?
They don't own it.
Oh, my God, Chris. We go through this all the time.
So, quite a few years ago, the county went out and replaced many bridges in conjunction with the towns. They partnered with the towns, they put the bridges on. There's no deed of ownership to own the bridge. It's a bridge on a town road, just like they wouldn't own the bridge into the Sidewalk Club, which the county also put in. It was a partnership with the towns, but at no time does that make them forever responsible for maintaining the bridges. Plus, that bridge was only put in 1997, and it's got a 50-year lifespan. The bridge is not that bad.
No, it was fixed in 1988. I showed you the minutes.
That was the first repair to the
Right,
abutments.
but you said it was just put in
The wooden structure of the bridge was put in 1997, and so it's fairly new with a 50-year lifespan.
Well, I thought that Insight said that it needed to be,
The abutments need to be repaired. The spillway of the dam needs to be repaired very badly. I was
but
just out there the
so
other day.
just so that you keep telling me that you guys don't own it, why is it on the New York State Registry that the county owns that bridge?
It is on there. There's no
Okay.
doubt, and the county's gonna dispute it because they went in and repaired it, and somehow their name got put down as ownership because they did a favor for the town.
Oh.
And then they took, for some reason, it came up that that their name was on it. But they didn't own it before that.
And Rich Othmer says we don't own it because it's over 19 feet, and he doesn't do a bridge over 19 feet.
I mean, I can have this argument with you. I'm not the lawyers. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm
I don't know the
I'm,
answer.
you
All
know,
I know
food
is
for thought
I
here.
went to the county, I sat down with them, and they said, how can we own a bridge on a town road? We don't own a bridge on a town road anywhere in Putnam County. We did a favor for the town, we built a bridge for them, and all of a sudden our name showed up on a New York State registry. We're not
Again,
gonna
I
take,
showed you the minutes from 1988. You know, you could talk about the wood part, but I'm just saying that highway's saying that they don't own it, county's saying they don't own it, and on the New York State Registry, it says the county owns it. So maybe food for
we'll
thought,
have to
somebody
come-
can research
We
that.
will come back to the ownership. I've seen your notes. I don't agree, I don't read them the same way you read them. I
Okay.
interpret them a different way.
Well, you work for the county, Chris, so
I don't work for the highway department.
just saying.
But I do think that we have to come to an agreement on it. Now, I would argue against Richie. It's a bridge on a town road. I would say that it's a town road bridge.
Okay, well, and I'm saying what he told me, so,
So I'll have that argument with him, too.
okay. Well, I would like that you would look into it, that's all.
Any other public comment?
Madam Supervisor, At your first meeting of the year, you mentioned about the Lake Como Community Center having a conversation with the board there. I was just curious if that's been done, if it hasn't. Would you be able to tell me when that's been proposed for?
For the board,
Yes.
we're still working on that.
Okay, thank you.
And on the same token, we're still trying to get a response from the engineering company that was supposed to give us a damage report on.
But you were just asking about the board for for a meeting, right?
My point was that there's no usable community center at this point right now down there. It can't be used by the public.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I've had actually several residents question me about it with hopefully the good weather coming up and having family functions there. And obviously, I've gone back to them and said it doesn't look like it's going to be feasible at this time. So I was just curious if there was any progress, but I'm sure we're getting there.
We're on it. It's on the
We are.
list.
All right. Do I hear a call to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.